In the middle of the night, an alien spaceship crashes near a farm in the interior of the United States. The next day, a mosquito passes by and starts sucking the blood of the alien, which has been wiped out by the impact. However, his blood causes a mutation in the insect, which grows rapidly and to an impressive size. Nearby, Ray and Megan are driving to summer camp when they suddenly bump into the giant mosquito. The creature is completely destroyed and one of its parts ends up damaging the car's radiator. On seeing a mosquito of that size, Megan suggests taking it to the lab for analysis, but Ray is against the idea and instead throws the parts of the insect onto the grass so that no one can see it. The two then make their way to the camp, where security guard Hendrix is watching the students playing volleyball on the court. His colleague, Tony, doesn't like this at all and tells him to have the place fumigated because visitors are complaining about the presence of mosquitoes in the rooms. Annoyed, he goes to his boss, Morrow, who is obsessed with exterminating insects, especially mosquitoes. The boss doesn't mind Hendrix's complaints and sends him to do the job, because he wants to ensure that his park is the cleanest in the whole country. With no choice, the guy grabs his fogger and starts spraying insect poison all over the park, even with visitors nearby. The three brothers, Earl, Jr. and Rex, arrive on the outskirts of the campground, having robbed the town bank. While Earl takes a look at the map, Rex takes the opportunity to go potty and finds a toilet in the middle of the forest. However, when he looks up at the ceiling, he sees a gigantic mosquito and is forced to flee, with the creature chasing him in search of his blood. The guy screams for help, with Earl and Jr. grabbing their guns and going out to help their brother. The two are surprised to see the huge mosquito and Jr. quickly aims his gun, but the man misses his target and shoots Rex in the back. The mosquito then tries to attack them, but with his shotgun, Earl takes a clean shot at the creature, which explodes into 1,000 pieces. It seems that more mosquitoes are sucking the alien's blood and soon, an army of giant insects will take over the entire region. In another part of the forest, Tony and his colleague are fishing on the lake when a mosquito appears and attacks their boat. The guy tries to defend himself with his oar, but he is knocked into the water and his colleague is surrendered by the giant insect. Despite his efforts, he can't resist the creature's attack, which hits him in the eye with its suction tube and begins to absorb all his blood. Soon afterwards, Tony tries to return to the boat, but another insect starts chasing him and he is forced to flee into the forest. He hides in the trees, but soon he hears the buzzing of the mosquito, which has no intention of giving up on its prey. Tony runs as fast as he can to save himself, but the insect leaves him trapped in a tree and feeds on his blood. When night falls, Ray and Megan stay in a cabin while they wait for their car to be repaired at the garage. To their misfortune, the mechanic calls to say that the car won't be ready for 2 weeks, so the couple decide to enjoy the rest of the evening in a romantic moment. Far away, another couple is also enjoying the evening in the woods surrounding the park. However, the guy decides to take a bathroom break, leaving his girlfriend alone in the tent. At the same moment, dozens of mosquitoes approach the site, one of which invades the young couple's tent. Seeing the creature in front of her, the young woman screams in terror and tries to expel the insect, but the creature hits her in the leg with an evil pipe and absorbs her blood. Her boyfriend hears her screams and runs to help her, but the swarm attacks at the same time, eliminating their prey once and for all. The next morning, Ray comes out of the cabin and sees a guy preparing a jeep for a trip. Ray helps him and he introduces himself as Parks, an army scientist, who is on his way to the park to check on a falling space object. To repay the help, the scientist gives Ray and his girlfriend a lift home, but on the way, Parks notices that his radiation meter is emitting strong signals. The scientist decides to check the place out and Megan takes the opportunity to enjoy the scenery in front of the bridge. However, as she looks out over the lake, she sees a boat passing under the bridge and in it she finds the body of Tony's colleague, which has been eliminated by a giant mosquito. The trio then bring the dinghy to shore and find the victim with a serious eye injury. What's more, the body appears to have been completely drained of blood and Parks warns them that they need to report this to the authorities. The three decide to go to the park and use the office phone to call the police. However, when they get there, the office is completely ransacked and all the phones are off. To make matters worse, Parks finds yet another body, this time that of the head of the park, Morrow, who has also had his blood drained. The scientist suspects that all this was not caused by a human being and that the trio must solve this mystery before other people become victims. Ray is against the idea and thinks it would be better to run away, but Megan agrees with Parks and is willing to find out what happened. The trio split up, with Ray and Megan going to investigate the facilities, while Parks goes to check out the campsites in the forest. To the scientist's horror, he finds the site full of bodies, all of them disposed of in the same way as the other victims. Ray and Megan also find more victims on the park's premises, until they come across a boat moving on the ground. Carefully, they look down and find Hendrix, who gets scared and pours his fogger on the couple. They soon calm him down and the guard explains that he was hiding because the park was attacked by giant mosquitoes. The couple then take him to Parks to explain what happened, just as the scientist finds the body of one of the insects. Megan soon deduces that it is a mosquito of the Aedes aegypti species, the same species that transmits dengue fever and which has somehow suffered from accelerated growth. Faced with this situation, Ray insists that they all flee before more monsters appear. Parks agrees, but first, they must return to the city and call in the army to fight the insect invasion. However, he fears that his jeep isn't fast enough or protected enough to withstand the attack of the insects, should they appear on the road. Hendrix then shows them a trailer parked in the lot and, after removing the driver's body from the cab, the four of them prepare to flee. However, Parks sees that the key is not in the ignition and runs to look for it in the driver's body. At the same moment, the group hears the buzzing of insects approaching and they call out for the scientist, who manages to find the key and sets off with the car, heading for the highway. The journey lasts until nightfall and, in the middle of the track, the group comes across Junior, one of the bank robbers, asking for help. Parks goes out to talk to him, but everything was just a trap and Earl appears from behind the trees, pointing his gun at the scientist. The two brothers demand to keep the trailer and Junior tells Ray to get out of the vehicle, but in a surprise attack, Hendrix hits him in the face. Earl tries to help Junior, but Parks takes advantage of his distraction and punches him in the face. The two exchange blows, but the scientist gets the better of him and knocks him to the ground with a knee. At the same time, Junior tries to get up, but Ray kicks him, takes his gun and tackles him to the ground. The fight ends, but it's not long before everyone hears the mosquitoes buzzing once again. Hendrix says to leave the bandits on the road and serve them as food for the insects, but Parks decides to take them together and tells Ray to leave them trapped in the trailer. With everyone in the vehicle, the scientist speeds down the road, but the insects manage to catch up and try to invade the trailer. One of the mosquitoes manages to break the window glass, but Ray fires back with a shotgun blast, disintegrating the insect. Yet another giant mosquito manages to get in and pushes Megan out, who is left hanging on the car door. With Hendrix's help, she is pulled back in, only for more insects to start surrounding the vehicle. One of them tries to attack Parks in the cabin, but he defends himself and eliminates the insect with several shots from his gun. Hendrix and Ray also unload their weapons against the monsters, but more insects invade the trailer, with one of them advancing towards Junior. The guy screams in despair and his brother tries his best to get free of the ropes. With a lot of effort, Earl manages to free himself and asks Megan to give him the axe, otherwise his brother will be eliminated. Left with no choice, the young woman gives him the weapon and Earl destroys the insect with a series of axe blows. However, the thief quickly seizes the opportunity and rends Megan, threatening to eliminate her if the group doesn't hand over the trailer. To prove that he's serious, he cuts Megan's face with the axe and tells Parks to hand over the keys. Even so, the young woman is undeterred and, on seeing the spicule of an insect lying on the ground, she picks it up and hits Earl in the stomach. Thanks to this, she manages to free herself, but the mosquitoes continue to attack the vehicle. One of them manages to get through the window and bites Hendrix's leg, while another hits the car's tire, causing the trailer to flip over in the middle of the road. Fortunately, no one in the group is seriously injured, but they need to hide somewhere before the insects return. After a quick search, Parks finds a tunnel that leads to the city sewer and tells everyone to hide there quickly. Everyone obeys, including Earl, but his brother ends up being left behind because he realizes he left the bag with the stolen money in the car. To his misfortune, the place soon becomes surrounded by mosquitoes, one of which hits his heart and sucks his blood, eliminating him for good. Earl tries to save his brother, but there is nothing to be done and he is forced to follow the group into the tunnel. The insects see everyone fleeing and fly towards them, forcing Ray, Parks and Hendrix to use up their ammunition to eliminate the mosquitoes. After this, the group enters the sewer, but they have access to several tunnels and, in a few seconds, the passages are invaded by mosquitoes. To stop them getting in, Parks asks everyone for a piece of their shirt, sets it on fire with his lighter and puts it in the tunnels. Thanks to this, the insects move away and the group has a few more hours to live. Still, they need to find a way to stop them and Parks begins to review everything they've discovered about the insects over the course of the day. According to her studies in biology, Megan says that only the females suck the blood of their victims. Their aim is to collect nutrients to give to their young, but these mutant insects have an unusual thirst for blood. Parks also recalls that these incidents began on the same day that the unidentified body crashed on the planet. He suspects that it was an alien ship that crashed on Earth and that the crash site must be very close. If this is true, there's a good chance that not only mosquitoes, but other animals will come into contact with the alien and turn into monsters. This only makes everything even more urgent, and the next day everyone decides to track down the source of the giant mosquitoes. The group heads back to the trailer and Parks inspects Junior's body using his radiation monitor. The machine picks up a strong radioactive emission and the scientist decides to follow the trail, hoping that the machine will lead him to the insect's nest. The signals from the monitor lead the group to the farm, where the alien spaceship crashed a few days ago. The five split up, with Megan and Parks looking for more radioactive signals, while the rest go to investigate inside the residence. Arriving there, the place appears empty and the three of them go to check the rooms in the house, with Hendrix going to look in the basement. After looking around for a while, he returns to the living room, without realizing that, seconds later, the bathroom door in the basement has just opened by itself. Minutes later, Parks and Megan return, but have found no trace of what caused the whole incident. With night approaching, the group decides to stay right there in the house, reinforcing security with logs nailed to the doors and windows. Earl then finds a chainsaw in the garage and says that it is identical to the one that an actor who looks like him used in the movie Texas Chainsaw Man. Despite this reinforcement, Ray warns everyone that there are only 5 shotgun shells left and they can only use them as a last resort. Finally, Parks tries to repair the radiation monitor to increase its range, but the device has been damaged during the trip. With the situation going from bad to worse, the scientist is upset, but Megan calms him down, saying that it's been a long day and he needs to rest. Parks accepts the advice and meets up with the group in the living room to try and distract himself for the rest of the evening. During the conversation, the scientist reveals that he is a war veteran with combat experience, but that he has never seen anything like this attack by the giant insects. Hendrix also says that he was a soldier, while Ray admits that he never went into the army and was only a member of the school's scout group. Upon hearing this, everyone in the group laughs at his confession, but the moment of relaxation is soon interrupted when Megan hears sounds coming from outside. As she had feared, the army of giant mosquitoes has returned and is quickly infesting the entire farm. Despite the reinforcements on the doors and windows, the insects are stronger and within seconds, they begin to break through the blockade and invade the house. One of the monsters advances towards Hendrix and, as well as his leg being injured, the creature rends him on the ground and prepares to eliminate him. He calls for help, but Parks is busy stopping the insects from getting in and Earl swings his chainsaw to cut the mosquitoes in half. Ray also faces one of the insects, which knocks him to the ground and is about to bite him. Even though he's running low on ammunition, Ray has no choice but to shoot at the mosquito, which explodes into pieces with the shotgun blast. He then runs to help Hendrix and, in trying to pull the insect away from his friend, ends up ripping off the mosquito's wings. Free of the creature, Hendrix takes his shotgun back and fires at it, but now he's out of bullets too. The only solution is to use the furniture and objects in the house to defend themselves, while more insects invade the place. Megan, using her axe, eliminates several of them, until she sees a mosquito trying to invade the kitchen through the window. However, the mosquito is trapped right above the kitchen stove. In one swift movement, Megan turns on one of the burners, sets the monster on fire and, with Ray's help, the two of them push it out of the house. The confrontation continues, with Earl sawing up more mosquitoes and Parks throwing the remains out. Once they've cleared the house, the group reinforces the barriers on the windows, but there's still an army of monsters waiting outside and it won't be long before they manage to break in again. If that wasn't bad enough, they hear a strange noise coming from the basement of the house. Parks and Hendrix go down to see what's going on and find a mosquito nest with hundreds of eggs scattered around. The two run to warn the group, but they don't realize that, shortly afterwards, one of the eggs has hatched, with a giant mosquito coming out of it. When Parks finds out, he realizes that the farm is where the alien crashed and that it has now become home to the giant mosquitoes. To put an end to this once and for all, they need to blow up the whole house, taking all the giant insects with them. Since they don't have dynamite, the only way is to set off an explosion using the farm's gas pipes. However, Parks warns them that they will have very little time to escape from the house before they are hit by the blast. With no time to lose, the group takes ropes from the house, ties them to the wooden logs and waits for Parks' signal to pull them to let the insects in at the right moment. The scientist then uses a radio set he found in the house and turns it into a makeshift lighter. With everything ready, the next step is to break the gas pipe, part of which is located in the basement. So Ray and Hendrix have to go down there one more time, but when they open the door, they find a mosquito waiting for them. Using axes and a wrench, they put an end to the monster and go down to the basement, where they find the gas pipe. Using the axe, Hendrix manages to break the gain and the gas starts spreading fast. At the same time, Parks breaks the pipe under the sink and soon the whole house is covered in gas. Finally, they have to use the ropes to remove the wooden planks and allow the mosquitoes to pass through. The scientist then sets a timer on the radio so that the lighter is activated within 3 minutes and the group can leave before the time runs out. With the timer activated, the group pulls the ropes to let the insects in and locks themselves inside the kitchen. There, they find a small rope elevator, through which they will be taken to the roof of the house and from where they can escape before the whole place explodes. Ray and Megan are the first to go up, but when it's Hendrik's turn, the elevator can't support his weight and he falls straight into the basement. Unable to get up to the roof and with time running out, Earl decides to risk everything and makes his way up with his chainsaw, facing the mosquitoes alone. He manages to get to the basement, but the eggs are hatching and more insects set out to attack him. Parks ends up in the kitchen and, with the mosquitoes blocking the way, he can only wait for his tragic fate. With only a few seconds left before the explosion, Megan and Ray reach the roof and jump off the house, landing safely on top of the garden. Finally, they run as far as they can and, when the timer is reset, the whole house explodes, destroying all the giant mosquitoes. Hours later, the day dawns and the couple go looking for their friends, even though they have no hope that they have survived. To their surprise, Parks managed to escape at the last minute, protecting himself from the explosion inside a fridge. Hendrix and Earl weren't as lucky, but their sacrifices helped exterminate the giant mosquitoes. Finally, Megan, Ray and Parks are able to return home. However, the body of the alien is still missing and it is possible that a new infestation will take place in the city. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.